Once again, thanks for joining us. It is Democracy and Rule of Law, and I'm Solomon Ofem. Let's quickly take a look at what we're going to be talking about today. The Nigerian Army has again failed to appear before the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Restitution for victims of SARS and other related matters. It is the third time they have failed to honor the summons of the panel for officers involved in the shooting to explain what happened at the Lekki Tollgate on the 20th of October 2020. After the plenary yesterday, counsel to the panel, Jonathan Ogunsoya, confirmed that summons were sent to 3 Army officers. Someone was sent to Colonel Bello. The second summons was served to honor Major General Godwin Umelo, the General Officer commanding 81 Division, Lagos and Ogun State of the Nigerian Army, Victoria Island. The third summons was issued and served to Brigadier General Francis Ogbaje Omata of the Nigerian Army of Balindi Barracks. We'll also be taking a look at the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, issued a 7-day ultimatum to herdsmen to vacate forest reserves in the state. The order is part of major steps taken by the state to address the root cause of kidnapping and other nefarious activities in the state. In a statement issued on his Twitter handle, Akeredolu said the forest had been turned into a place for felons to carry out their criminal activities. The presidency then came out to tackle the governor over this order. Of course, everything spiraled out of control from there, where Yoruba rights activist Sunday Igboho last Friday issued his own 7-day ultimatum to Fulani herdsmen and their relatives to exit Oyo town and other parts of the Ogun area of the state following the incessant clashes between the farmers and herdsmen. And a lot has happened since then. Then finally, we will be taking a look at U.S. democracy, where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were sworn in as president and vice president, respectively. And President Joe Biden signed a flurry of executive orders, actions, and memorandum aimed at rapidly addressing the coronavirus pandemic and dismantling many of Donald Trump's policies. He signed 30 executive orders, actions. The first day of his administration, he was sworn in and he went straight to work. So these are what we're going to be talking about on democracy and the rule of law today. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll start talking. Once again, I am Solomon Ofem, and you're welcome to Democracy and the Rule of Law. It is good to have you back. This is Democracy and the Rule of Law. I have a barrister, Femi Aino, in the house today. He's a legal practitioner. Good to have you join us on the program today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is the first time you're coming into the show.
This is the first time.
So you're welcome to the Democracy and the Rule of Law family.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I also have a barrister, Dotun Hassan, who is on his way. He's not here yet. So when he comes, he will join us. And for now, it's just going to be you and I, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
Talking today. Okay, let's quickly go straight to a topic for discussion where NSAS, we've not heard the last of it. And of course, as we know, the Lagos State constituted a panel of inquiry to look into what happened at the Lekki Tollgate, of course, the whole NSAS in general. And of course, as you know, the panel invites people into the house to give their testimony. And for the third time, the Nigerian Army has failed to appear before this panel after being summoned. So now, a lot of questions have been asked about the legitimacy of this panel. And a lot of people have also questioned why the Lagos State governor will constitute a panel in the first place, because the Lagos State government has been fingered as a part of the key player in this NSAS shooting. And the major key players, the Lagos State government and the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian police. And I don't understand how they will summon the Lagos State government to this panel, but it shows, just like a lot of Nigerians are thinking, that really not going to be any headway in this panel. A lot of Nigerians have called this panel law hawks, and some of these key players not appearing is kind of putting a credence to what Nigerians are saying. So what's your thought?
You see, the point is this, the attitude of the Nigerian army is quite concerning. Similarly, I've heard arguments both left, right and center. But the fundamental is this: if you receive a summons that you should appear before a panel tomorrow because an incident happened in your area and the panel has been constituted to investigate. The issue is this: if you have nothing to hide, if you believe in justice and the rule of law, I think by first light tomorrow, you're going to turn up before that panel. If you have an issue before the panel that, look, this panel is constituted by XYZ, and these are people I have scores with in the past, or they are equally culpable, that is a platform for you to raise your concern, either bias or arbitrariness or whatever, any allegation. That's a good opportunity for you. But however, if you have something to hide, you probably ignore the summons and you won't turn up. You see, in this country, I think some people just take the rule of law, they play a lip service to what is called the rule of law. They don't even believe in justice. They don't believe in the right of victims to get answers. They don't believe in the right of those of us who are living to get justice for the dead. And the only way we can do that is to cooperate with any panel or the police or anybody that is carrying out an investigation. Now, if you look at the Nigerian army, there has been a series of weighty allegations against the army because of what happened at Lekki Tollgate. And they've had a bad press, let's just put it that way. And now, a panel has been set up that will give you an opportunity to tell the world your own side of the story. And you don't want to turn up. You see, we are not under a military era. And if you look at the history of this panel, this is a federal government initiative. But the states were mandated to constitute the panel because the decision was taken at the federal government executive meeting also that, look, this is the best way forward. And by coincidence, I'm appearing before one of the panel in Ogun State. And what I discovered from experience that, look, this is a good platform for people to come and hear their grievances. And the procedure is very flexible. Nobody is going to arrest you or anything. What does it cost the Nigerian army? They have a legal officer. Go there with your legal officer, say your own side of the story, then the prosecution or the victims, they will question you. And then you go home and let's wait for the panel to make a finding. But the contrary is the case. It's a duck and dive now. That's okay. Sometimes they will turn up, sometimes they will not turn up, sometimes they even turn up with inadequate evidence. You see, it shows. If I'm going to, let's be realistic. If any of these officers eventually step in the witness box, the question they're going to be asked is that, look, why did you not turn up? It's like you being arrested or me being arrested by the police. And the police asked me a question that, look, there was an incident, somebody has given a description of somebody who looked like you. What do you know? And you turn around and say no comment. Eventually, when they charge you to court, then you start saying, I don't know anything about it. But at that police station, that was your first opportunity to clear yourself and explain and give an explanation. And you see, we cannot continue to run this country that way. We cannot continue whereby there's a different rule for the goose and there's a different rule for the gander. You see, the rule of law, what it means is a fair process or processes, whereby you come, we have what is called an adversarial system of justice. You come, say your own side, the other side comes, explain their own side, and somebody question you about the credibility of what you are saying. And then there's an independent arbiter who is going to take a decision one way or the other and make a finding from whatever evidence has been heard. But what the Nigerian army seems to be doing is a testimony they have something to hide, or it's a testimony they don't believe in the truth, or they don't even believe that some people must get justice for the victim,
or they don't even believe in the rule of law.
That is the point. Because I can't really understand what is going on here.
Yeah, but don't you think this is a case of power play? I mean, the military, just like every other military or paramilitary organization, is answerable to the executives at the federal level, vis-a-vis the president. Then this panel was constituted by the states.
Yes.
So what power does a panel constituted by the state have to summon?
You see, that is the point. First of all, let me respond to the first part, where you say maybe this is a power play. Even when you have power, you have to be humble. That's the first starting point.
Well, but it's not common in the Nigerian politics.
In the Nigerian context, it's not common. It's just because of the way the system doesn't really work. We have come from, where there is a panel, everybody will cooperate. And as you probably know, there are so many ongoing panel, finding out, okay, take for instance, in the UK, during the Iraq War, there was a panel constituted to find out whether the British Army they violated the right of some Iraqi citizens. The army didn't say they won't turn up. They did turn up. They put their own side that, look, this is happened, this is what happened, we face potential threat.
But that's a place where they have a system that works.
Exactly. But if you have a defective system, like we have here, the power play will creep in. And the point is this: the Nigerian army, they are responsible to the federal government. The federal government has states to set up this panel in order to address all these human rights violations and all the weighty allegations as to what happened at Lekki Tollgate. One will expect a military that believes in the rule of law, that is answerable to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because one thing you need to appreciate is that we have an Inquiry Act in this country. And that Inquiry Act gives this panel the power to investigate and what have you. So it is not a panel that was just set up on the whim and caprice of the state government. There is a law that backs it up. And don't forget, there was a visit by members of that panel to one of the barracks, and there was a drama as to whether they will allow them in or not. But eventually, they were granted orders. So my concern is that, you see, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways in the sense that, one, you allow the military to come into the barracks and ask you questions, and the panel to come into your barrack and just ask you questions, tell you to produce X, Y, Z. And then the second part, you refuse to turn up. You can't do that. And if you continue that way, it is either you don't even believe in the rule of law, or you don't believe in the Constitution, or you don't believe in justice for victims of arbitrary use of power, either by the military, the police, and people whose rights are violated. And my major concern is this: where do we go from here? Will this panel be able to make a finding? And look, let me even tell you.
That's actually my next question.
Yes, and you can draw an inference. You can draw an inference. The inference is that if you refuse to ask reasonable questions being put to you about something where somebody or a body or panel is trying to investigate, we can draw an inference that you have something to hide. That's why you don't want to answer questions.
Now, another part of it, though, is there seems to be controversy between the Nigerian military and the Lagos State government, where the Lagos State governor, at the start of the whole drama, the Lagos State governor denied ever inviting the army to the protests. And you know, there was a back and forth
accusation
until finally the Lagos State government now came and said, okay, they invited the army. And the army on the other side said that they didn't go there with gun, and okay, we went there with gun, but it was blank. We went there with life. You know, so if I am the Nigerian army, I will be thinking, I mean, you've already started the panel with a lie. So how do I go answer?
Yes,
panel set up by you?
I know where you are coming from, but you see, that is a convenient excuse to say, okay, because he started with
but it lie. Is an excuse.
No, I agree, but you see, it's a convenient one. Because don't forget, you work here. If there's a perpetual latecomer here, and you ask him why is he late, we say it's traffic, because it's a convenient excuse for him. The Lagos state government started with a lie, allegedly, by saying, look, we did not invite the military, or there were no deaths at toll gate and what have you. And the military said, no, we were invited by the governor. The only person who can get to the bottom of that is the panel. And what will happen in such circumstances, the Lagos state government has an attorney general. He can come before the panel. The military will have an opportunity to question him and confront him with the evidence. That is why this panel is there, so that we can know the truth. We can't sit here and decide this issue, because these are issues that are based on evidence. The military can come up and say, look, this is the text we received from the governor. And we look at the timeline. By so time, he sent us another test again, that whether we are on our way, and we got there. So the panel can get to the bottom. But the panel cannot get to the bottom if everybody is playing the duck and diving and ducking by saying, look, we will turn up, we will not turn up, we will receive the summons, we will ignore it. And what I will advise is that the chairman of that panel will either need to do something about this, and the best way is to talk to the chief of army staff that, look, this is the problem we are having with your people, because don't forget, there's a chain of command. Somebody is at the top, somebody is going to take responsibility that, look, why did you not turn up? And the person might give a marching order that all of you must appear before that panel and clarify yourself and clarify the position. And another point is that the Nigerian army, you see, they need to know their public image is very, very important also. If you receive a summons, you don't turn up. You see, the way Nigeria is such a country that we are very quick to judge people. People are going to start making assumptions that the reason why they didn't turn up is because they kill people on that day. But if you know you are innocent, you see, because what happened at that Lekki toll gate is very disturbing.
It is.
And the only way we can get to the root of it is for every participant, either the military, the police, and the NSA people, let everybody come before this panel and give an explanation.
But are they swear majority of these participants are not turning up? You know, so how do you think the panel will eventually get
well, the panel will have to make
also put into consideration the Lagos state government that set up this panel, and a lot of accusing fingers have been pointed, at them. How do the panel summon the Lagos state government?
You have to be very careful in the sense that this is an independent panel, invited comer. It's supposed to be independent, because don't forget, let's just be a hypothetical. A state appoints a high court judge, okay, that this person is recommended
for an issue,
an issue where there's an allegation against them. But even, let's forget the answer. Assuming the Lagos state government appoints somebody as a high court judge, and you'll be sitting at a Ikeja High Court, that does not mean every judgment must be in favor of Lagos state government. You are an independent arbitrator of the truth. And this panel, though set up by the Lagos state government, and there's an allegation against Lagos state government, does not mean they cannot indict the Lagos state government. And don't forget, there is a retired judge who is the person, is it the chairperson of the panel? So we have to be very careful.
But I'm just echoing the minds of ordinary Nigerians.
Yes, agreed. And I'm trying to disperse the mind of ordinary Nigerians that whether the panel was set up by the Lagos State government doesn't mean they cannot make a finding against the Lagos State government. And don't forget, the way it works is that even if you approach me that these things happen at a certain area, you will be the chairperson of that panel, and then you carry out an investigation. It doesn't mean I can't rule in your favor. What they will tell you is that, look, let me do my job, and I need to do it in an independent manner. So people shouldn't worry.
You're talking in an ideal situation, but we already know the mistrust that goes on between the government and the government here in Nigeria. And let's not also talk about the fact that this is not the first time we've had panels set up, and at the end of the day,
we don't see the light. The reports didn't see the light of the day.
Nobody is prosecuted. No one is called into question. Yes. No head was rolled. They just sweep it under the carpet too.
I agree. The only reason why you have that is, you see, is because the victims too, they don't come together. You see, another crime we have been, when an incident like this happens and you're a victim of EndSARS and what have you, by now, all of them will have formed some sort of association. And that association will be campaigning. They will have their own spokesperson. They will have a lawyer. And at the end of the day,
in a situation where most of them have been arrested, most of them, their bank account has been frozen by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Some of them are in hiding. Some of them have fled the country.
Yes, but that doesn't mean they can't still come together. Because number one, I'll tell you, there's a way.
Because it looks like, you know, there's the order of association has been ruled against them. So right now, nobody can come together. Because you see, there was even a tiny rumor that the EndSARS will meet somewhere, and there was army all over the place.
Yes, I know, because that is inevitable. But the point is this: if they don't come together, there's the need for joint thinking. Because number one, we are all victims. And the best way to go forward and work in partnership with the panel is that, one, you can set up an association. It doesn't mean all of you has to congregate. You know what is happening now. People have meetings through Zoom and what have you. And then you decide that, look, whatever happened, we want to know the outcome of this panel investigation. If you don't do that, because don't forget, at the end, the judge is going to make some rulings and there will be a report, everything. But what will normally happen in Nigeria, that's where I share your sentiment, that look, sometimes it doesn't see the light of the day. If you want this to see the light of the day, the victims need to come together and put pressure or constitute themselves into some sort of a campaign group. It is that campaign group that will be the driving force for justice and the outcome for the victims of what happened in October during the EndSARS protest. If they don't do that, you see, if I'm a victim, you are a victim. If you are saying it didn't happen, and I'm saying it happened, then there's lack of joint thinking between us, and that division can cause all sorts of problems for the perpetrators, because they will capitalize on the division between us to make sure we don't get justice. So we need to, there's the need for that joint thinking for all the victims of the EndSARS, and make sure that, okay, for instance, you mentioned that the panel issue is someone, these people don't turn up. The victims can write a letter to the Chief of Army Staff that this is what is happening and we may not get justice if your officers fail to turn up. That can lead to an action. They can organize a mini protest. That can lead to an action. So there are a lot of actions that the victims can do against the perpetrators. And if they don't do that, then it may not see the light of the day, as you rightly put it.
Well, I hope it's as simple as you're saying it.